Hey friend, Wagwan, welcome back to my channel. Now, if you are new to the channel, big up yourself, welcome. I am so happy you stopped by. My name is Kerri-Ann and I am the content creator and recipe developer behind the Kerri-Ann's Kravings food blog. I share Caribbean-inspired recipes every week, ranging from 30-minute meals to Sunday dinners. So you definitely want to make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Now today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my personal favorites, and this is my version of the Guinness Beef Stew, and I hope you like it. Okay, you cool cats and kittens. Our first order of business is to trim, cube, and rinse our beef. Now, I am using beef chuck or chuck steak for this particular recipe. It is a tough cut of meat from the shoulder of the cow, and it's has lots of marbling. Marbling means fat, and fat means flavor. Now, if you're looking for a leaner option, you can try the London broil, but to me, that's too lean. That's like eating shoe leather. It's just too tough and it's just too dry. It's not my cup of tea, but it's an option. So go ahead and transfer your beef to a medium bowl, and you want to go ahead and trim off all that excess fat because we have all the fat and flavoring that we need in the marbling. That's just going to give you a layer of fat on your beef stew, which is just totally gross. You also want to cut off that silver skin, which is that thin membrane that you see that's covering the meat. You want to peel that off and throw that out. Lastly, you want to grab your sharpest knife and you want to start cutting up your beef into 1-inch cubes. So now that we've finished trimmed and cubed our beef, it is time to rinse it in our vinegar solution. Now we're going in with some distilled vinegar and some cool tap water. You can use lemon or lime with the water. You want to have enough tap water to cover your meat, and just allow the beef to sit in this mixture for about 30 seconds, and then moving on over to the sink, and you want to throw this water off, and then you want to rinse it at least 2 times with some fresh running water. Once you're done rinse and drain your beef, you want to bring it back to your counter, grab some clean paper towel, and you want to pat your meat dry to prepare it for marination. Make sure you get all that liquid that's accumulating at the bottom of the bowl as well. Drain that and continue to pat. Now, once you're finished with that paper towel, go ahead and toss it in the trash and make sure you wash your hands with some soap and some warm water. You don't want to contaminate all your surfaces, so safety first. So now we are ready to build our marinade, and to kick things off, I am going in with my garlic powder and my onion powder because they are going to add tons of flavor to our beef stew. I'm also going to be going in with my smoked paprika. Regular paprika works just as fine, and I'm going to follow that up with some all-purpose seasoning, and of course I'm going in with some salt, and I am using my pink Himalayan salt. The choice of salt is completely up to you. And I'm going in with some fresh cracked black pepper, and of course I'm going to be crushing some pimento seeds and add to my beef stew because it's going to bring the island flavor and the Caribbean vibes. And if you know anything about Caribbean cooking, pimento seeds is a must. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of soy sauce. You can use reduced sodium soy sauce as well. And I'm going in with my browning. It's going to add that beautiful brown color to our meat. Now you want to add this sparingly because too much and your stew will be bitter. You can always add more later. And of course, I'm going in with my custom seasoning blend, which is my holy grail. And I do have a tutorial of what's in it and how I put it together on my YouTube channel that I will link for you. And lastly, I am going to top things off with a light layer of vegetable oil, and this is going to help to keep everything nice and moist, and it's going to help you to work that marinade into the meat. So now for this next step, you can throw on some gloves like I did, or use your bare hands. You want to massage the marinade into the meat, and then you want to cover it with something airtight and allow it to sit in the bottom of the refrigerator for at least 20 minutes. Of course, overnight is always best because the longer you allow your meat to sit in the marinade, the more flavorful it's going to be, which is exactly what you want. So now we're ready to sear off our meat because we want to start locking in those flavors. So grab that Instant Pot and go ahead and make sure the liner is inserted and press that saute button. Then add your vegetable oil and allow it to heat up. Once the oil is heated, you want to go ahead and add your beef in single layers. Do not overcrowd. What we're looking for is a nice crust on each layer. So we want to sear these off for about 3 to 4 minutes on all sides. Now, I must confess that I am not a big fan of the Instant Pot. I do prefer the stovetop pressure cooker. You can't beat the Jamaican out of a girl. Now, I'm going to show you why as we go along. I'm going to take you on the journey with me. But for now, we're going to start searing in our Instant Pot. So now halfway through the searing process, it starts to steam up. And once you start to have steam, then you know it's no longer searing, it's starting to cook, which is not what we want. Now, this is one of the issues that I have with Instant Pot. I am not able to control the heat. Now, I prefer to sear on the stovetop because I can turn my flames high or as low as needed. Now, and another issue for me with the Instant Pot is that the bottom, the base of the pan is so narrow, you can only fit a small amount of meat for searing at any given time, which can be quite time consuming. Now, if you own an Instant Pot, let me know your experience with searing meat in your Instant Pot. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. So now I am going to remove my beef from my Instant Pot because there's no searing going on here. And I am going to use my brazier and I'm going to sear them off, and I'm going to show you the difference in a few minutes. So now let's call this searing 2.0. So I got my brazier out and I am going to add some vegetable oil and allow this to heat up over medium-high flames. If you want to stick with the Instant Pot for the entire cooking process, please do so. You can just follow along with me and replicate the same process with your Instant Pot. So we're going to be searing off our meat in batches, and once the oil is hot, go ahead and add your beef in single layers and allow these to sear off and develop a nice crust for about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. You want to use a heavy bottom pan for searing because it's going to give you the best results. Now I'm using my enamel cast iron. You can use a cast iron skillet, or if you have a Jamaican Dutch pot, then you know it's built for this life and you definitely want to use it. So now that we're finished searing off our meat, now we are going to saute our onions. Now we're using the same pot, but we are going to reduce our flames from medium high to medium because we don't want to burn our onions. So we want to allow it a few minutes for the temperature to come down. So now that the oil is ready, go ahead and add your onion. Now we're not going to be using all our onions all at once. We're going to divide it into 2, and we're using half now, and we're going to set the rest aside for later. Now if you need a little bit more oil in the pot, go ahead and drizzle some in to get things going. Now we're going to allow our onions to saute down for about 2 minutes. We want it to soften up and become translucent, and we want it to give up all its flavor in the oil. Now once we arrive at that 2-minute mark, go ahead and add your minced garlic. We want these to release all its flavor in the oil as well, and we're going to allow that to saute down for a minute until fragrant. So now that the onion and garlic is ready, we're going to deglaze our pan with some dry red wine. And if you're using the Instapot liner, you're going to be doing the same thing. And you want to use a wooden spoon to scrape the bits off the bottom of the pan to incorporate it into our liquid. Now, not only is the red wine deglazed in our pan, it is also going to add those deep, delicious flavors to our beef stew. So next, we're going to go in with our tomato puree. Now, if you don't have tomato puree, you can also use some tomato ketchup. So go ahead and mix it to incorporate it into our wine mixture. And then we're going to allow everything to simmer down and reduce by half. So once our mixture has been reduced, we are going to go ahead and remove it from our flames and set it aside and grab our Instapot. So now you want to make sure that your wine mixture is cool enough for you to handle, and you want to go ahead and pour it into the liner of your Instant Pot. So now it's time to go in with our Guinness Stout. Now I am using the extra stout because it's going to give us that robust, deep flavor, especially when you combine it with the flavor from the red wine. It's going to be so good. Now you can use any beer that you want and you will still get a good stew. And if you use regular Guinness, you will still get a nice stew, but that extra stout really puts it over the top, really elevates the beef stew. So if you can, Go for extra stout. If not, then you'll work with what you have. So next I'm going to go in with some chicken stock. I am not using beef stock. I am using chicken stock because the chicken stock is going to give it such a nice flavor. Trust me on this one. Once you try the chicken stock with the beef, you're not going to go back to using beef stock with beef. It is so good. So now that we have everything in, we're going to go ahead and add our beef cubes to our Instant Pot. And of course, if there's any liquid, which there usually is, that's sitting in the bottom of the bowl, you want to go ahead and dump that in as well, because of course there are tons of flavor in all that mixture. So now that we have all our ingredients in our Instant Pot, go ahead and cover and lock your pressure cooker lid in place and turn that steam vent handle to sealing. And then at the front of the Instant Pot, we want to select meat/stew. And then we are going to allow our beef stew to cook for 35 minutes. So now we have arrived at that 35-minute mark and our Instant Pot has turned off. Now let the pot depressurize naturally for 10 minutes. Just let it sit. And then you're going to turn that steam vent handle to venting to quickly release that remaining pressure. And then we're going to go ahead and check our meat tenderness. Our meat should be tender enough to cut with a spoon at this point. So now that our meat is nice and tender, we don't need additional time. You want to go ahead and press the saute button on the front of your Instant Pot. We want to allow our stew to come up to a boil. We're going to start adding in our potatoes. And then we're going to follow that up with some carrots. If you're prepping your potato and carrots beforehand, go ahead and place them in a bowl of cooled water and set them aside.
And once you start to have
slow down the oxidation
then you know
process,
it's no longer
searing,
it's
starting
and
to
it's
cook,
going
which
to
is
prevent
not
it
what
from
we
getting black.
want. We're going to add our potatoes and our carrots because no stew is ever complete without them. And then we're going to add our remaining onions. Now we're also going in with some crushed scallions. You may, depending on where you're from, it could be scallions or green onions. It's the same thing. And we're also going to add some fresh thyme. Now, I love fresh thyme because it's so fragrant, but of course you can use dry thyme as well. And I'm also going in with some bell peppers. Now the choice of color is completely up to you. I'm also going to be adding my dry bay leaves and I'm going in with 2 Scotch bonnet peppers. Now I'm going to leave these whole and just allow them to float on top of my stew. I just want to extract the flavor in from the skin. I don't want that intense heat, but of course if that's your thing, you can go ahead and add slices of the Scotch bonnet pepper. Now we're going to cover this lightly. We're no longer pressuring. We just want to cover this and allow it to cook for 10 minutes. We want to make sure that our potatoes and our carrots are cooked until tender. Now that our potatoes and carrots are completely cooked, we're going to start building our umami flavors. And I'm going in with some oyster sauce and I'm going to follow that up with some butter. Now you can use salted or unsalted. It is completely up to you. And I'm going to go in with some brown sugar as well. And that's going to balance out the acidity from the red wine and the tomato puree. Now, if you did use tomato ketchup, you can skip add in the sugar because tomato ketchup already has sugar in there. I'm also going in with some Worcestershire sauce and I'm going to taste my broth and check for salt and add some all-purpose seasoning to bring up the flavor. So you're going to determine after you taste it what exactly your broth is going to need so it tastes exactly how you want it to. Now I'm starting to work on my gravy and I'm going in with a slurry of cornstarch. This is a 1-to-1 mixture of cornstarch and water. Now you want to mix it out completely until it's nice and creamy and then you want to mix it into your broth. Now this is going to help with thickening the gravy. Now you can add a few applications of the slurry until you've arrived at that gravy consistency that you're looking for. Now I'm going to allow this to cook down for 5 minutes so all the flavors can come together and the gravy can thicken. And I'm going to go ahead and start extracting those bits of thyme stems and scallions because we already extracted all the flavoring from them and usually we don't eat them in our food. So go ahead and remove them and you can discard that. Now we've arrived at the end of that 5 minutes and you can go ahead and give it another taste and adjust if necessary. If not, you can remove or unplug your Instant Pot because our stew is done. Gravy will thicken up a little bit more once it's cooled down. You can also smash some of the potatoes to help to thicken the gravy if you think it needs a little bit more body. But I wanted to keep some chunks of potatoes in there because again, it is a beef stew and I want to be able to enjoy bits of potatoes. Let me tell you, this Guinness beef stew, it's so delicious. It's packed with so much flavor. It's gonna become one of your favorite ways to have beef stew, trust me. Now you can enjoy this over some plain white rice or rice and peas, or you can have it over some creamy mashed potatoes. The choice of sides is completely up to you. And as always, I want to thank you for tuning in and hanging out with me today. And I hope you will give this recipe a try as well as give this video a thumbs up. Now, if you still have not subscribed to my channel, I do invite you to subscribe right now and hit that notification bell. As always, one love and stay blessed, my friend.